picture the scene. It is August 2026. An 85-year-old cultural icon posts this incredibly glamorous selfie from a hot tub.
Right. The lighting is just flawless.
Oh, completely flawless. Her skin is glowing. The water is bubbling. It is, the absolute peak of curated perfection.
But then you look at the caption.
Exactly. The caption and this magazine interview that drops at the exact same time, it just shatters a 30-year public silence. The cameras flash. The internet collectively gasps. And with one single petty word jerk, Hollywood, the publishing industry, and the homemaking world suddenly have a brand new obsession.
It was a total viral moment. Unscripted, unfiltered, and just completely contradicting the polished image that built her empire in the first place.
Welcome to StarScope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Today, we are turning our magnifying glass onto a really spectacular, messy headline. Martha Stewart finally says what she really thinks about her ex.
We are unpacking the decade-spanning, fiercely chaotic saga of Martha and Andy Stewart. And if you think you know the queen of domestic perfection, well, you probably only know the frosting on the cake. Today, we're cutting into the layers underneath.
To get to those foundation layers, we have a really fascinating stack of sources for you today. We're pulling from recent explosive features in People and New York Magazine.
Right.
We're also analyzing the massive cultural fallout from the 2024 Netflix documentary, simply titled Martha. And crucially, we are looking at tell-all accounts from the people inside the blast radius, specifically their daughter Alexis Stewart's 2011 memoir, Whateverland.
So the mission here isn't just to, recap a celebrity breakup. We are looking at a profound psychological dissonance, the jarring contrast between a carefully curated public empire of domestic bliss and a private reality that was, frankly, a fierce, high-stakes pressure cooker.
Exactly. To understand how a 36-year-old divorce is suddenly generating explosive headlines today, we have to look at the architecture of the marriage itself.
Which started a long time ago.
Yeah, you have to look at the sheer, unbridled ambition that defined these two from day one. I mean, they didn't just stumble into success. They were a collision of high achievers.
So, okay, let's unpack this. They met on a blind date in the early 1960s, which, feels like a completely different universe.
Right. Martha Costero was just 19. She was studying architectural history at Barnard College and working as a fashion model.
And Andy Stewart was 23, grinding his way through Yale Law School.
They married in 1961, just a year after that blind date. And the ascent of this couple was rapid. It was highly strategic.
They started out in a chic penthouse on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, rubbing shoulders with the elite before eventually buying a fixer-upper in Westport, Connecticut.
And anyone who follows the lore of this brand knows that the Westport house wasn't just a home.
No, not at all. It became the physical blueprint, the ultimate laboratory for her entire homemaking empire.
While Martha was building that empire, Andy was a titan in his own right.
Right, people forget that.
They do. He left corporate law to become a highly successful publisher. He eventually became the president of the prestigious publishing house, Harry & Abrams, and later formed his own company.
So he was deeply entrenched in the publishing world, which is vital context for how Martha's early catering books got off the ground.
Exactly. They were building a massive corporate entity together. But behind closed doors, the reality of maintaining that relentless ambition took a really heavy psychological toll on the family.
Especially on their only daughter, Alexis.
Yeah. Alexis's 2011 tell-all book, Whateverland, is where the perfectly frosted facade really starts to splinter for me.
You read this book and you realize the domestic dream that Martha sold to millions of women across America was practically non-existent in her own living room.
Alexis described her childhood with a quote that I just cannot stop thinking about. She wrote, "I grew up with a glue gun pointed at my head."
Wow. It perfectly captures that suffocating demand for perfection.
Right, she claimed that if she didn't do a chore flawlessly, she had to do it again and again. She wasn't even allowed to sit on her own bed for fear of wrinkling the bedspread.
Which is wild, and the irony is almost too on the nose here. The woman who is globally famous for her recipes and holiday hosting allegedly never had prepared food in the house.
Yeah, Alexis wrote pretty flatly, "There was never anything to eat at my house. I had no food."
The part about Halloween is what really shifted my perspective on the brand, though.
Oh yeah, the Halloween story.
Martha Stewart, the woman who literally teaches the American public how to carve artisanal pumpkins and host the perfect autumn harvest, she would turn off all the lights in her house on Halloween.
Just to pretend they weren't home.
Exactly, so they wouldn't have to deal with neighborhood trick-or-treaters. It's like looking at a perfectly frosted cake, but when you cut into it, it's held together by toothpicks and pure stress.
Selling domestic warmth to the masses while cultivating absolute coldness at home isn't just ironic. It is a brilliant, ruthless compartmentalization that completely redefines how we view lifestyle brands.
It requires an intense ability to separate the product from your actual life.
It does. And to be fair to the sources we are looking at,
Huh?
both Martha and Andy have publicly admitted to this neglect. Andy confessed to People magazine that they did a poor job as parents because they were entirely consumed by their careers.
And the endless, obsessive renovation of their homes. But the tension wasn't just trickling down to their daughter, it was boiling over between Martha and Andy.
Which brings us to the power dynamic.
Right, because if he's a successful publisher and they are essentially building this lifestyle brand as a team in the early days, where does the profound resentment come from? Didn't Martha actually resent him?
She did. You were looking at a dynamic where the traditional power structures of a 1960s marriage were being rapidly inverted.
The sources claim she openly said she was more talented than him while they were working catering events, right?
Yes. According to multiple sources and friends, cited in Jerry Oppenheimer's biography, Martha constantly belittled Andy. She would call him dumb or stupid in front of guests. Former staff claim she treated him like a, quote, dog turd. There are accounts of her standing with her hands on her hips, shrieking at him to do gardening work.
So she wasn't treating him like an equal partner.
No, or even a Yale-educated executive. She was treating him like a subordinate employee on her set.
You don't treat your partner like a subordinate for 3 decades without someone looking for an exit strategy. But the tension at home was nothing compared to the betrayals happening outside it. And wait until you hear what happened on their honeymoon.
Yeah, the betrayal started almost immediately.
Let's get into that.
According to her own admission in the 2024 Netflix documentary, on their honeymoon in Florence, Italy, Martha met a handsome English stranger at their hotel.
Wait, on their honeymoon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Andy wanted to call it a night, but Martha stayed out drinking with this stranger and actually ended up kissing him in a cathedral.
Are you serious?
Yeah. She left her new husband in their hotel room to have a physical and emotional connection with someone else.
Hold on. Here's where it gets really interesting. The woman who spent years publicly destroying her husband for cheating on her was cheating in a cathedral on week 1 of their marriage.
That's what she said on camera.
How does she possibly justify that in the documentary?
Well, she frames it as merely an emotional moment,
Mhm.
a fleeting indiscretion. She also admitted to a brief affair with an attractive Irish stockbroker in New York during the 1960s.
Just waving it away as a product of the era?
Pretty much.
Right.
But the historical record shows that Andy was also engaging in multiple affairs throughout their marriage.
So the entire relationship was essentially an open wound of infidelities.
It was. But the breaking point, the one that blew the Empire's private life to pieces, was Andy's affair with Robin Fairclough.
And the details here are completely wild. Robin wasn't just a random woman. She was Martha's personal floral assistant.
She was 21 years younger than Andy. But the detail that highlights the truly bizarre broken boundaries in this marriage is that Martha had actually invited Robin to live with them.
Wait, what? She lived with them?
Yeah, after Robin lost her apartment, Martha brought her into their home.
Inviting the 21 years younger floral assistant to live in your home? I mean, it almost feels like a subconscious test. Did she want to be betrayed so she could permanently seize the moral high ground?
It certainly set the stage for a spectacular implosion. Years later, Martha described that decision with a very specific, cutting phrase. She said, bringing Robin into the house was like putting out a snack for Andy.
Oh my God. That phrasing is chilling. It reduces her husband to a predator and her employee to prey.
While completely absolving herself of the chaotic environment she created.
Right. When Martha finally discovers the affair, the sources say she literally tore her own hair out of her head.
She fired Robin immediately, and it triggered their brutal 1990 divorce.
But I really struggle with the hypocrisy here. She fiercely, unforgivingly condemns Andy for his affairs while brushing off her own. Was this a marriage or a decades-long game of keeping score where neither wanted to be the loser?
If you synthesize the accounts from both sides impartially, you see a power dynamic that was fundamentally shattered. On Andy's side, friends say he felt completely cast aside.
Berated and unloved, right.
Exactly, by a wife who prioritized her brand above his humanity. His affairs, while deeply hurtful betrayals, were described by his camp as desperate escapes from a hostile, belittling environment.
And on Martha's side, you have a woman whose entire identity is built on absolute control.
Precisely. She felt a profound, devastating betrayal because it wasn't just a random affair. Her husband cheated with someone in her inner circle.
Someone she mentored and brought into her own meticulously controlled sanctuary.
To a woman whose brand is built on domestic perfection, that level of intimate deception is world-shattering. Both of those emotional realities, his feeling of abuse, her feeling of betrayal, are entirely valid to the people experiencing them.
And if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. Because they spent 2 years fighting over a settlement and didn't speak for decades. But stay tuned, because 34 years later, Netflix would blow the lid right back off this story.
Decades of absolute silence between the two. You'd think a Cold War like that would eventually thaw.
But the past refused to stay buried. Decades of silence doesn't erase resentment, it just puts it on ice.
And in October 2024, Martha decided to hand Netflix the ice pick.
The documentary, Martha, drops globally, and she does not hold back.
She is in full control of her narrative here. She uses the platform to ruthlessly label Andy a piece of S for cheating on her.
She literally looks dead into the camera.
And tells millions of women that if their husband starts to cheat, they need to look at him as a piece of garbage and immediately walk away from the marriage.
Which, again, is staggering advice from someone who just admitted she didn't walk away and actually had her own affairs early on. She drops this bomb on Netflix, thrusting Andy, who has been quietly living his life in his late 80s, back into the villain role on a global stage.
But Andy is now married to his third wife, Shyla Nelson Stewart. And Shyla was not going to let this highly publicized character assassination stand unanswered. Just 3 days after the explosive trailer for the documentary drops, Shyla posts a scathing, lengthy message on Facebook.
So what does this all mean? The pivot from a multi-million-dollar Netflix megaphone to a suburban Facebook post is fascinating. What does she actually say?
Shyla directly counters Martha's victim narrative. She calls Martha and Andy's marriage painful and abusive.
Wow.
She accuses Martha of publicly relitigating a marriage that ended nearly 40 years ago, pointing out that Andy has quietly moved forward with his life.
And then she drops a really pointed piece of advice, doesn't she?
Yes, she wishes Martha the experience of loving and being loved deeply and fully. It is a polite but devastating implication that Martha is still bitter, lonely, and trapped in the past.
But there is a detail in that Facebook post that I cannot ignore. Shyla signed it, Shyla and Andy Stewart. She didn't just speak on his behalf, she presented an absolutely unified front.
Which is a powerful move.
It makes me wonder about Martha's motivations. Is Martha using this massive Netflix platform to rewrite history purely as the wronged woman? Or is she just refusing to play the polite, quiet ex-wife anymore?
It is likely a complex collision of both motives. Breaking down these narratives impartially, we see two camps deeply entrenched in their own truths.
Right.
Martha is claiming the ultimate victimhood of a spouse whose sanctuary was violated. She is framing herself as the resilient survivor of male betrayal.
While Andy's camp claims he survived a deeply toxic environment.
Exactly. Shyla fiercely represents the narrative of a survivor of emotional abuse, arguing that Andy eventually found peace away from a belittling environment. What's crucial for you to understand as an observer is that both of these realities can exist simultaneously.
One person's victimhood does not magically erase their own toxic behavior. Which brings us right back to the immediate present, August 2026. Because the fallout from the documentary actually prompted the first contact between the exes in over 20 years. But it wasn't a heartwarming reunion.
Not at all. You would think, given their advanced age, they might finally bury the hatchet. But they did not. Andy reached out to Martha for one reason, and it was entirely transactional.
Just for legal reasons, right?
Yes. He contacted her to remind her of legal statements from their 1990 divorce settlement.
36 years later, they are still circling the paperwork of a dead marriage.
Martha's response, which she happily shared with People magazine, was incredibly dismissive. She told the reporter, who cared after 2 years of arguing about a settlement? I still haven't read it. He's a jerk.
He's a jerk. It is so incredibly petty, but it reveals so much. The woman who taught America how to fold a fitted sheet with mathematical precision cannot smooth out the wrinkles of this relationship.
Clearly not.
But this absolute refusal to compromise doesn't just apply to Andy. It applies to how she has lived her entire life since the divorce. The business of being single for her is a wild psychological case study.
She didn't retreat into her business and become a recluse. She dated incredibly high-profile, powerful men, but she always maintained her fierce, almost combative independence.
Like in the early 1990s when she dated Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Right.
And she dumped him for the most bizarre reason. She stated on national television that she had to break up with him because she couldn't stop seeing him as Hannibal Lecter from The Silence of the Lambs.
I still can't believe she admitted that.
She literally couldn't separate the actor sitting across from her at dinner from the cannibal serial killer he played on screen.
It is a phenomenal psychological parallel. Martha's entire public persona is a carefully constructed character, a performance of domestic tranquility that the public struggles to separate from her actual chaotic private self.
Yes.
Yet she ended a relationship because she suffered from that exact same inability to separate fiction from reality when looking at someone else.
That is brilliant. She demands the public buy into her illusion, but she couldn't handle his. And Hopkins wasn't the only billionaire she dated.
No, she had a 15-year relationship with billionaire Charles Simonia, the creator of Microsoft Office.
That ended brutally in 2008.
According to Martha, they were literally in bed together when he casually announced he was leaving her to marry a younger woman she had never even heard of.
Another devastating betrayal in a deeply intimate space, which makes her stance today in 2026 so fascinating.
With the hot tub selfie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's 85, posting hot tub selfies, and she is cheekily, unapologetically single. She admits she's dating, but her standards are hilariously rigid.
Oh, she knows exactly what she wants.
She told the press she wants a man who is nice-looking, smart, with nice teeth, and rich. She specifically noted she wants someone with a yacht.
She also explicitly drew a hard line, stating to the press that she refuses to be beleaguered by an, quote, older, ill person.
She is 85 years old, and she is openly stating she will not become anyone's nurse.
What you are witnessing is how Martha's unapologetic singleness has become a core pillar of her modern brand. She isn't hiding from the chaos of her personal life. She's weaponizing it.
She survived prison, scandal, and a brutal divorce.
Through all of that, she remained a self-made billionaire who absolutely refuses to compromise her lifestyle, her comfort, or her standards for anyone else.
If you're someone listening right now who worries that you need a perfect, serene personal life to achieve professional success, Martha is the ultimate proof that you don't. Think about the magnitude of that.
Right.
She literally monetized domestic perfection while living in absolute, unapologetic, messy chaos behind the scenes.
It is the defining paradox of her legacy. She sold the illusion of absolute control to the American public, while her own interpersonal life was wildly out of her control.
Yet instead of letting that chaos destroy her, she harnessed it. The story of Martha and Andy Stewart is a phenomenal masterclass in the contrast between public image and private reality, stretching from a 1961 blind date all the way to a 2026 magazine feud.
It is cinematic, it is petty, and it is deeply, profoundly human.
If you're loving these cinematic twists and deep dives into the stories shaping pop culture, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what we uncover next. You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.
But before we go, I want to leave you with a final, lingering question to explore on your own. We have spent decades holding Martha Stewart up as the ultimate symbol of the perfect, orderly home. But given her messy, fiercely independent, and ruthless personal life, does our continued obsession with her prove that deep down, society actually values unapologetic authenticity far more than we value a perfectly folded napkin?
Think about that the next time you see that serene 85-year-old smile floating in the hot tub. Until next time.